So our next session, I want to get right into it, is Access, Development, and Sharing OERs in the UWI Open Campus. And our two speakers are Adrian Kellman and Selwyn Rodulfo. I hope I'm saying your name right, and I apologize if I'm not. Adrian Kellman has been a librarian for the past 2.5 years. He's a librarian in the Resource Management Unit of the Open Campus Libraries and Information Services at the University of the West Indies, as it is based in Barbados. He's a Fulbright scholar and has earned his master's in Library and Information Studies from Florida State University. And Salomon Rodulfo is a team leader of the Liaison Services Unit of the Open Campus Libraries and Information Services. He's been a librarian for almost 20 years and is based in the Twin Island state of Trinidad and Tobago and has been at the University of the West Indies for the past 3 years. So we're going to switch it over to them.
Yes, good afternoon to everyone. Hope you're hearing me loud and clear from the Caribbean. Dear colleagues, we appreciate your presence and being able to share on our work. I am Selwyn Rodolfo, one of 3 liaison librarians attached to the open campus of the University of the West Indies. During our presentation, we will share on collaboration between 2 open campus divisions, the Open Campus Libraries and Information Services, and the Academic Programming and Delivery Division. This initiative is dedicated to procure, produce, review, collate, and share OERs for teaching and learning. We will share the role of the OCLIS in 2 areas. First, in advancing the adoption of OERs for course development and delivery, and second, its role in the creation of OER repositories, while highlighting our unique collaboration with various education specialists. We now briefly introduce our institution. The University of the West Indies was founded in the year 1948 and has a student body of over 40,000, mainly from 17 English-speaking Caribbean territories. The Open Campus is the youngest of 4 campuses, celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. Each campus offers programs up to the doctoral level, our newest offering being the Faculty of Sports in 2017. Opening doors to lifelong learning for all. The Open Campus has a mandate to provide life skills, professional and tertiary level educational opportunities to Caribbean citizens living in distant locations throughout the English-speaking Caribbean, away from the university's 3 major physical campuses. Therefore, the Open Campus operates in a multidimensional manner, offering education online, distance, distributed, blended, and face-to-face across some 50 locations. Here's a map of the Caribbean region. Hope some of you all are familiar with some of the nations that are highlighted there, or you may have even visited. Can indicate which you're familiar with through chat. Feel free. Adrian resides in Barbados. That's my fellow colleague who will be presenting a bit later on. Adrian Kellman, he resides in Barbados. If you see on your screen, on the right-hand side of your screen, towards the bottom, Barbados. And I am in Trinidad and Tobago. As you heard at the beginning, the Twin Island state of Trinidad and Tobago. Okay, so the Open Campus services almost all these countries here, the English-speaking territories, including Belize and the Bahamas. Online and distance education naturally favors the creation and use of open educational resources, with educators having to be innovative to ensure that students are not disadvantaged through participation in non-traditional forms of education and learning. We all know that the increasing costs of conventional textbooks and subscribed databases are hastening the move to OERs. This is a worldwide phenomenon, but more so for the cash-strapped Caribbean region. Furthermore, the distributed nature of our student population throughout the Caribbean poses difficulties for easy access to textbooks. The Open Campus engages in educational partnerships with the sister campuses and other institutions, converting traditional face-to-face programs for online delivery. This provides added impetus to the use of OERs. Therefore, we in the Caribbean do appreciate the need for OERs and the importance of being committed to open access. Our laser librarians collaborate with the program coordinators, curriculum development specialists, and subject matter experts in the development of program proposals and the design of courses, discussing, sourcing, reviewing, and recommending relevant resources, including OERs. We guide them to subject-related OER sites, example, College Open Textbooks, and MULA 2. Only last week, academic staff and librarians participated in an interactive webinar with the founder and managing director of MULA 2, exploring useful aspects of the resource. We recently invited the curriculum development specialists to complete a survey on the use of OERs in course development. Our curriculum development specialists oversee the work of the subject matter experts who undertake course development and design. So each curriculum development specialist has several subject matter experts assigned to her. Out of 14 targeted invitees, 11 completed the survey. In response to one of the questions, combining the responses for often and for all the time, we found that over 80% of respondents stated that they actively encourage the use of OERs in the development of courses. The survey confirmed that within the Open Campus, the focus is on creating and or accessing graphics, images, and videos for use in course development. This is in line with the thrust of online teaching and learning. But the Open Campus survey also revealed that the demand for electronic textbooks remained significantly high. Working alongside faculty during the process of program planning and course development allows for a partnership dedicated to the academic success and lifelong learning of students. With the librarians being involved from the program conception, we are able to encourage the use of OERs. One comment coming out of our survey was the challenges experienced searching for OERs. These challenges included clarifying copyright, especially when a Creative Commons license was not present. Other challenges included dealing with complicated OER sites, limited relevant and or quality materials for some topics, the lack of appropriate content for graduate level courses, lack of Caribbean context, and also the duration of time spent searching. With our increasing participation in program planning, the laser librarians will contribute to our staff overcoming some of these challenges associated with sourcing OERs. I now hand you over to my colleague, Adrian, who will take you through the rest of our presentation. Adrian?
Thank you, Selwyn. So we're just going to take a skip from Trinidad over to Barbados. So adding to what Selwyn has mentioned on the use of OERs as information sources in course development and delivery, the Resource Management Unit of the Open Campus Libraries and Information Services has advanced the use of OERs by adding some OERs to its online catalog. In particular, open textbooks and open journals recommended by such persons as the subject matter specialist, curriculum development specialist, and course facilitators from the academic programming and delivery division. Now we'll talk about the creation of OERs within the Open Campus. It has been initiated with the Multimedia Resource Collection by the Course Development Department, which falls within the Division of Academic Programming and Delivery. The collection comprises of digital learning objects specially created for the purpose of enhancing and enriching the online learning experience. There are two major reasons why the Multimedia Resource Collection was created. The first reason was the need to store and easily access previous multimedia created in the course development department by the multimedia specialists, keeping in mind the Open Campus's distributed work environment where members of the team are scattered throughout the region. Therefore, having a single searchable collection will eliminate major duplication in the production of objects and will afford those in the production of course content to have readily available multimedia that can be reused, retained, revised, remixed, and redistributed for any course to be offered by the Open Campus. The second reason was that as the Open Campus has been increasingly moving away from courses being wrapped around proprietary textbooks and finds itself more and more sourcing OERs in order to supplement course content, the opportunity to provide these types of resources as OERs could not be overlooked as a way in which the Open Campus could give back to the OER community. On the get-go to building the collection, clear knowledge in terms of the meaning of what are open education resources and in what ways they could be used had to be understood. Therefore, those involved in the initiative had to refresh their knowledge on the Creative Commons licenses as it pertains to the making of the resources, especially when using other OERs and applying licenses to the resources that would be added to the collection. The collection is diverse in subject content, and resources in the collection vary in type from audio, image, text, video, to animated and interactive objects. The formats include infographics, slideshows, comics, icons, photographs, podcasts, drill and practice exercises, and more, as you can see in the slide. Managing such diversity in the collection did present some challenges when it came to formalizing procedures and adopting standards. As the consulting librarian, I worked alongside the production team to establish selection criteria, to arrange workflows between relevant staff members, to develop the metadata schema, to compile a control vocabulary for categorizing objects, and to select Creative Commons licenses. Now, speaking more to the management of the multimedia resource collection, this digital collection is maintained in UniSpace, the university's institutional repository. When it came to building the metadata schema for this digital collection, Dublin Core was used as a standard, given that the institutional repository, which is built on eSpace software, uses the Dublin Core by default, and that all the University of the West Indies campus libraries use this standard for their collections within the repository. With the flexibility of Dublin Core elements for description of diverse resources, in collaboration with the production manager, multimedia specialist, and multimedia instructional designer, we adopted 18 of the 70 descriptive metadata fields available for the description of the multimedia. Also in this process, description of resources for the purpose of easy access and evaluation was given great deliberation, resulting in the adoption of a controlled vocabulary for the formats of the multimedia. In turn, as a librarian, I wrote the user manual, which included detailing entry requirements of the fields and administration of the collection within UE Space. Two of the conditions for objects being put into the collection were that all objects would have gone through a peer review process and would have been embedded in taught courses. With the criteria for selection of objects established, the acquisition of OERs for the collection falls within the responsibility of the course development department. In addition, persons assigned to administer the collection, besides myself from the Library and Information Services, are from the course development department. In the workflow, apart from the submitters, there are the reviewers, who are the senior multimedia specialists and the senior multimedia instructional designer, who either accepts or rejects the submissions. They ensure that the metadata is accurate and consistent with the guidelines set out in the user manual before it goes to the editor. As a resource management librarian, I function as the editor who is able to edit the metadata and provide expertise in describing the subject content as completely as possible by adding standardized subject headings. The submissions are then passed on to the final editors, that is, the course production supervisor and curriculum development specialist, who then accept the submissions into the collection, where they then will become accessible to the public. In concluding, the adding of multimedia to the collection is ongoing. However, progress has been slow as the production team is small and workloads can be significant, impeding the uploading of the multimedia to UE Space. At this point, public access will not be available until the collection volume of content becomes substantial. As for the future, in addition to the creation of multimedia OERs, the Division of Academic Programming and Delivery is reviewing the possibility of producing open courseware. From the results of the survey mentioned by Selwyn, we've noted that there is a need to provide further formal tutorials and guides for accessing and assessing OERs. Also, that there is a need to continually scan OER sites and repositories for new material or broken links or to note resources that have been moved to new locations. The conversation on ethical and copyright issues surrounding the creation and use of OER continues. And as always, the Open Campus Libraries and Information Services seeks ways to promote the use of OERs and to offer its expertise where needed. That brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you so much. If you have any questions.
Great, thanks. Thanks, guys. Yes, if anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat box. Not in the chat box, I'm sorry, in the Q&A box. And we'll funnel those over to the presenters. So, I mean, this is fascinating. I think there are a lot of things that, like, I forgot. Like, we talk about OER textbooks so much. Forgot, oh yeah, OERs are bigger than that. And, you know, I'm not the primary OER person on my campus, but I do work with faculty. And I'm like, oh yeah, OERs are much bigger than I regularly think about, or much bigger than we sometimes talk about. So this was kind of eye-opening. Is it difficult for you, because you're spread out throughout so many different countries, to sort of collaborate and get those materials from one to another and work together on that kind of stuff?
Yes, Selwyn here. Well, so we are online. We communicate online. So all our fellow staff in the Open Campus are able and have been trained to do our communication online and to share our knowledge using Skype, emails, the Learning Exchange, Blackboard, and so on. So we overcome the issue of distance.
Right.
In that way, yes.
So it's just kind of built into your workflows.
Yes,
Yeah.
it
That's
is.
just sort of part of what you do.
Yes, indeed.
Interesting. So I have a question from Bill Jones, one of our other committee members. And he was curious to know what other metadata fields, like how did you decide which metadata fields to use in Dublin Core to sort of catalog your OER?
Okay. I will take this question. As I said, there were 70 fields in Dublin Core by default in our institution repository. So I, along with the persons involved, would have sat down and gone through each one and decided what multimedia, the multimedia that we do produce, what are the commonalities? We know that they're all might be interactive or just be graphics, but there's certain fields that goes with everything: the name, creator, the referencing, and then because of the fields that were there, we were able to put those and match those up with the content that we were going to put as OERs. So, for example, in the format, there is format extent, format MIME type, and then there's a field that if you needed to add something else, if you want to give a different type of format, that you could actually add your own. But we didn't need that because there was like 5 different formats, metadata fields that you could choose from. So we ended up choosing 3 of those because we had to do the control vocabulary and we needed to put that somewhere, and that so happens to fit within that format field.
Great. Bill, did that answer your question? He says thank you. And Carrie Martin, also another member of our committee, also had a question. She wanted to know what kind of feedback you've gotten from your students and their use of OERs within the Open Campus. Like, have you ever gotten feedback directly from students or instructors sort of conveying that?
Oh, well, yes, there is feedback coming through, because positive feedback, for one, it allays the expenditure in having to purchase resources. Okay, and for us, for students, it's not just about purchasing based on where they are in the Caribbean. Sometimes it could be having the material reach their locations. So having the open education resources in the various formats that they can be available, more and more assists the students in having easy access to relevant resources that they can use. So it's something that is growing. So it's about the lecturers who are using it more and more, the academic staff, and the students now being able to get greater access to it. And in that way, we also have inserted a number of our OER resources within our library portal space. So students can access some of them through our library online services.
Great. And Carrie, does that answer your question? She says, wonderful, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? I realize the last 3 have come from members of the conference committee. They haven't popped up in the Q&A box. If anyone's just joining us that hadn't been here earlier, there should be a little Q&A button up on the top of your screen, so you could ask any questions. Give people a minute to type if they're in the middle of typing. Okay, last call for any questions. Bill has another question. He wanted to know if you had students participate at all in the creation of the OER content.
So, you want to take this one?
Well, I'm thinking in the area of creation, no, we haven't had that that level of participation from students as yet. It's mainly being done at the level of the academic staff. And they, of course, they're relating with Adrian to secure the production of it and the preservation of it there.
Okay, great. Thank you. And if we don't have any other questions, give people like another couple seconds if they're in the middle of typing. If nobody else has any other questions, we'll work on switching over.